Привет, дорогие подписчики и зрители канала, меня зовут Артур, мы продолжаем играть в Stanley Parable, и это, я думаю, будет совсем распоследняя серия, хотя я хотел закончить на предыдущей. И тем не менее, в комментариях мне написали о нескольких интересных деталях, которые я упустил, ну просто потому что они тупо очень неочевидны. Для начала давайте попробуем выпрыгнуть в окно. Да я знаю, я помню. Блин, я соскучился по этой игре, я в нее не играл уже неделю, наверное. Ох, и я просто не знаю, как можно не любить эту игру. И тем не менее, по этому стульчику можно запрыгнуть на стол, и как я понял, это делать не очень просто. Как видите, я не могу это сделать, но рано или поздно у нас получится, поэтому давайте долбаться сюда. То есть увидите, насколько это неочевидная деталь. Давай, Стэнли, лезь. Ты же можешь. Вот, молодца, хорошо. И теперь мы пройдем сюда, и давайте выпрыгнем в окно. Поздравляю, мы сломали игру в очередной раз.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
No.
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
О, то есть, я так понимаю, сидеть здесь можно просто до упора, но мы попробуем уйти. Я так понимаю, далеко уйти у нас не получится. Единственный вариант возможный — это выбрать Yes. Или нам полностью нужно перезапустить игру. Окей, игра, что ты делаешь? Ты по-прежнему продолжаешь хавать мой мозг. Ну, ладно, начать игру сначала. Вы видите, что она делает? Это ненормально. Будем пробовать еще раз.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
На всякий случай проверим.
Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Хорошо, полезли во второй раз. Блин, как до этого вообще можно допереть?
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Yes.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want. Like, right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain.
Музончик.
There once was a man
Он петь будет сейчас, что ли?
who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them
Песня
like
про Стэнли и
some kind of
кнопки.
glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he
Я уже забыл, какой этот комментатор болтливый. По-моему, просто не дает ставить слово.
And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. You too
Вообще отлично.
quite unbearable.
Все? Нет. Он реально издевается надо мной. Кстати, пока у нас играет музыка, я хочу похвастаться. Я купил новый коврик для мыши, и мне интересно ваше мнение. Не слышно ли, как он такой шероховатый весь? Как я перемещаю по нему мышку? Если да, скажите, я его поменяю обратно на старый. В общем, вот такие дела. Фидбэк. Парень, походу, просто... Никто ничего не слышит. Ну... Ладно, похоже, пора уходить отсюда. Да, похоже, музыка пошла по циклу. Хорошо. Теперь новый прикол. Насчет этого... Твою мать, этого я еще не видел. Что? Какого? Что-то опять
All
слабо.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Здесь еще суть в том, что телефончик, помните, вот этот звонил? Говорят, что можно было выдернуть из него розетку. Я вообще розетку не вижу, честно говоря. Но это ладно, это как бы мелочь и, по сути, ни на что не влияет. 430-я комната, несколько раз в нее постучать, произойдет тоже что-то интересное.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No, 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 no. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Увлекательное действие. 5. Я уже сбился. Стучим до победного. Определенно что-то произойдет.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause.
Ты меня плохо знаешь. Я сделаю.
Almost certainly 50 clicks.
Хорошо. Отдыхаем. Отлично отдыхаем. Проводим время. Это игра.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks in a door number 47?
Ты охренел, что ли, совсем? 417. 20 раз? По 417? Мы сделаем это, парни. И девушки, конечно же. No. Я не буду этим заниматься. Это слишком долго и упорото, по-моему. Хорошо. Что еще у нас там на повестке? Почему тут кругом раскиданы эти листы бумаги? Что происходит? Так, чулан. На повестке дня чулан. чулан у нас...
Stanley came to a set of two open doors. He entered the door on his left.
А где чулан, я не помню. Может, мы уже прошли мимо него? По-моему, прошли, кстати говоря. Ну ладно, пойдем, может, еще что обнаружим интересного.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
А вот он. Короче говоря, сказали посидеть здесь подольше.
But there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Nope.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Окей. Сидим, ждем. Как скажешь, комментатор.
Baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way.
Конечно.
He's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Нифига.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing?
Я сижу, позвольте заметить.
Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Хорошо. Хорошо.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Окей, комментатор, как скажешь.
Stanley was
Так и
fat and
напишу.
ugly and really, really stupid. He probably
Его
got the
бесит
job
уже.
because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical melody of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Nope. Неужели все? Но это определенно стоило того. Все, замолк. Реально думаешь, что я погиб? Хорошо. Так, ну ладно, чё, пойдем отсюда, что ли? Или поставим еще чуть-чуть? Пошли.
Ah, second player. Good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Так, и в принципе по этой линии нам особо делать-то и нечего. А, или вот сюда нам еще одна штука должна быть проверена мной сейчас. Так, это на самом деле хреновое место. Я сюда не очень хочу. Значит, нам нужно было направо пойти. Не помню, не помню. Ну ладно, пойдем сюда и сойдем с ума.
He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Почему же эта игра такая жестокая? И почему она такая шизовая?
Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head.
Это, по-моему, одна из самых наркоманских концовок в игре вообще в целом. Подожди-ка. Это ничего не значит? Или это время на разных этажах разное? Того издеваясь.
I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
На самом деле довольно жутковатая концовка.
Okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day,
только в этой концовке мы и можем увидеть Стэнли хотя бы со стороны, да? По крайней мере, потому что я видел.
And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Нормально вообще. На самом деле, слишком крутая концовка. Захотелось посмотреть ее второй раз. Но сейчас нам нужно найти тот момент, где, помните, две двери. Я, правда, совершенно не помню, где он находится. Оно опять происходит, да?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on
Конечно. Мы пойдем направо.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Интересно, сколько тут еще всего, что я не видел? Комната отдыха, да-да-да.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Короче говоря, мне нужно найти... где же у нас... развилка на две двери. То ли это здесь вниз пойти? Я не помню. По-моему, это не то, что я думаю. По-моему, нам нужно пойти сюда, спрыгнуть, и тогда у нас будет какой-то вот такой вариант. Туда наверх нам точно противопоказано. Короче говоря, есть ощущение, что в этой игре мы посмотрели уже практически все, но так как вылезают такие неочевидные приколы, я в этом не уверен. Поэтому, скорее всего, это последняя серия, но если вы откопаете еще какие-либо интересные, курьезные пасхалки, то пишите, посмотрим. Так, кстати говоря, эта концовка у нас падала, потому что у нас были включены субтитры. Поэтому сейчас мы субтитры выключим. Вошел, говорит, в красную дверь. Конечно. Может, ты, говорит, не понял. Вошел в красную дверь. No.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
No.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well,
ты, говорит, сам выбрал.
Stop you.
Хочешь узнать, что по этой дороге? Так, теперь, я думаю, субтитры можно включить. Уже игра не будет падать. Окей. Давайте погоним. Что? Куда я попал?
There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Круто.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
На самом деле, мне очень нравится.
You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul.
Ты не возгордись, только смотри.
You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Окей. Лидербол. Таблица рекордов мировая. Ниче-начо. Хорошо. 91 тысяча дверей открыто. Хорошо.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Почти нет.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Какого хрена происходит? Что?
The baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Окей. No. Увлекательная игра. Звук какой приятный. И все? Прости, малыш. Последняя попытка. Я не мог спасти тебя. Ты должен сгореть.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Мне даже страшно предположить, что сейчас будет. Чё? Майнкрафт?
Well, Stanley, is this any better? At
Minecraft.
last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough? Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here, no, here, and then.
Это не дом, комментатор.
See, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
Мозг просто... Ладно, пойдем внутрь.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect?
Да-да-да.
It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
Окей, пойдем. Прыгать я, конечно же, не могу. Ладно, пойдем, куда пускают. Это реально Майнкрафт? Просто вообще Майнкрафт?
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
Не факт. Где там ваши алмазики?
Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
Да. Скажу честно, я практически ни разу в Майнкрафт не играл. Мне он не нравится. Портал! Давай издевайся.
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be?
Какого хрена происходит?
Okay, now I'm curious.
Мы играем в
Let's
Portal.
go find out what the hell this is.
Где моя портальная пушка? Ага.
It's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte.
Неужели все именно так? Допустим.
Genius.
Конечно. А ты как думал? Я прошел эту игру 100 раз.
No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games, and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it any richer for you, but as for me, I've had enough. So, why don't you get cozy in this room, and if you have any grand revolutionary ideas for the perfect video game, you can just sit there and let it ball up inside you for all eternity. I don't need your advice. I don't need your ratings. And I certainly don't need the validation of a man whose job is to push buttons. I think I'll just go about my business, making meaningful cultural contributions to the world. And perhaps every now and then I'll think back to a man named Stanley who was objectively wrong in every decision he ever made. The thought won't last long. Goodbye, Stanley. Good luck with your work. And I sincerely hope that everyone lives happily ever after.
Окей. What the fuck? Куда я попал? Куда идти? Что? Воу, воу, я вообще упал. Я даже не видел ничего. Что? Ранняя версия Стэнли. А здесь жутенько. Свет. Обалдеть. Это самая лучшая пасхалка. Хотя, можно ли это считать пасхалкой? Это часть игры, и наверняка многие зашли бы. Вся игра из пасхалок состоит. Так что, какого черта? Моя комната, отлично, все. Я просто хочу жить здесь. Нажимать кнопки. No? Видимо, no. Хорошо, давайте тогда попытаемся как-то выбраться отсюда. Что? Теперь-то что?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Короче говоря, все, что нам остается, это опять перезапустить игру, да? Нет, она сама перезапустилась. Мозг уже просто начинает болеть. И мы снова в начале, и я даже не знаю, чем нам еще тут можно заняться, так что... Давайте просто сядем.
Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Минус еще одна концовка. Так, ну и теперь вроде как совсем все. Единственное, возможно, зазвонит телефончик.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Но, судя по всему, нет, и на этом давайте прощаться, потому что вроде как мы посмотрели уже абсолютно все. То есть шиза просто несусветная, но мне очень понравилось то, что происходило в этой серии. Комментатор, успокойся на секунду. Короче, с Майнкрафтом и Порталом это был вообще просто разрыв шаблона. Надеюсь, вам понравилось. Пишите в комментариях, если мы что-то упустили еще интересного. И если наберется достаточное количество интересных действий, то, возможно, мы заделаем еще одну серию. А на пока что все. Надеюсь, вам понравилось так же, как и мне. С вами был Артур. Всего хорошего. Пока-пока-пока.